For Kings talk and so much more. The Drive Guys on Sactown Sports.
Absolutely stunning loss for the Lakers last night. And, a lot of Laker fans were hurt by that. Nobody hurt worse than our next guest. All-time Kings icon, the one and only Jerry Reynolds joining us. Jerry, I'm so sorry for you for what happened to your Lakers last night. You must have been crushed.
Boy, you talk about joy. I couldn't believe it. The inbounds pass that LeBron made, which is probably the worst inbounds pass he's made in his life.
Yeah.
That they had to intercept it. There's just no other way.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Giddey hitting the game winner. For them gagging the game like that. But, of course, sadly, they won one before they should, against the Pacers, It's Jerry Seinfeld rule, even Steven. It seems to play out way too much.
And what did you think of your Kings last night? What a relief that was.
Oh, yeah. I thought they played well. Obviously it's a team they should beat, but they beat them, and they controlled the game. Ball movement was much better. Looked like, Domantas looked like himself.
Yeah.
And thought Keegan really got the game started, and was kind of amazing how he was so hot and involved and then forgotten for about three quarters. Mm-hmm. But by the way, I just got to tell Jay, because I respect him so much. Jay, I'm not anywhere near a toilet, by the way. I got to be honest with you. I can't guarantee you there won't be any flatulence. That's
Legend, you should have heard it, man. I was telling the fellas off air. Yeah, Eric is he's a piece of work. I'm pretty sure you've come across Eric and probably had a conversation or two.
Well, he's an old Hoosier too. So,
yes, sir.
Yep. Sadly, that there's too many of us like that. That is a bit uncouth, though. I would say. Eric's got to. He's got to come up a little higher standards.
Yeah, you're not lying. Absolutely. And we gave him an out. It's like, hey, we'll give you a call back 10, 20 minutes. He's like, no, everything's fine.
Yeah, some people are proud of their work. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. I think Jay, you have to call you back, Jay.
Joined by the legendary Jerry Reynolds. Legend, the Keon got to start last night in front of Malik Monk. Of course, Malik coming off an illness of some sorts. How do you go about moving forward now if you coach Christie and handling, what seems to be something that everybody wants to know? Who's going to start and who's coming off the bench?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really don't know. I thought Doug explained it pretty well last night. They didn't feel like that Malik coming off an illness wasn't, 100% strength-wise, and thought this would be a better way of controlling his minutes and his play, and it certainly seemed to work. And Keon and, like a lot of us have been wanting to see Keon not only play more, but maybe start, and he was outstanding. He, doing what he does, which is, getting steals, making open shots, and just being a very valuable part of winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jerry, I wanted to ask what your thoughts were on Taylor Jenkins. I'm starting to think this coaching thing is not that stable of a profession.
It really isn't. And that's hard to figure, and I know people. I was watching Pardon the Interruption, and, Kornheiser and his Frank Isola, and they both we're just like what in the world is going on? The guy's really a good coach, and that's my thinking. I don't understand it. I don't know. Did he make try to hit on the owner's wife or something? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But the guy's an awfully good coach, and he'll get another chance, and at some place he should. Mm-hmm. But having said that, I always say that the whole thing in the coaching business in the NBA changed some years ago. I always remember the year, this is maybe 10, 15 years ago, when I remember Vinny Del Negro was coaching the Clippers, and he won the most games in the Clippers franchise history, 56 or 7, and they fired him. suppose I don't think Chris Paul was on board, and
Oh yeah.
Chris has been known to do that, and then the same year, George Karl got fired from Denver, and he'd had a record number of wins at that time in a year, 56 or 7. I mean, and so it's like, wow, when you start firing coaches who've actually won franchise all-time records, then why be surprised at anything? And of course, since that time, there is no reason to be surprised by anything. I think it's a terrible mistake on Memphis's part, just from what little I know and watch, because, I mean, when your best player is only available for 40 games this year, what would the expectations be for that team? Mm-hmm. And then their second best player, Jaren Jackson, missed a significant time. But owners can do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. It's their, don't know, who made that decision, but my guess it had to be the owner.
Yeah. Curious.
Yeah. Legend question, and this is just to dive into your experience, so please don't name any names. Have you ever had a player come to you when you were part of the coaching staff or front office, could be man or woman, and say, you know what, I'm really not clicking with that coach?
Yes, I have. It happened a couple of times when I was running the Monarchs.
Okay. How did you handle that?
I say, I said, they're the coach and you're the player. And, you need to figure out a way to get along with the coach, because the coach is going to be here. Mm-hmm. And so I always took a hard stand on that. And now, having said that, I'd always go to the coach, when to be honest, say, look, these things have been brought up here. And in some cases, I'd say, I think there's a little merit to it. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't want to tell I just wouldn't take the player's side in that kind of situation. It served no purpose. But in many cases, I realized there might be some merit to it, and I wanted to make sure the coach, at some point they're going to be held accountable if they don't win ball games.
Yeah, and that's why his jersey's hanging from the rafters.
Absolutely. And he's and he probably got that ring on right now as well. Huh?
Do you have it on, Jerry?
No, I don't. I've got it hidden away.
Okay.
Speaking of coaching and coaching matters, this narrative, Jerry, that the Kings have to play harder than the other team every night. Zach LaVine talked about it last night. Doug says that a lot. Is that true? Is this a team that you got to play harder than the other team every night? Or is that kind of coach speak, something that every coach of every team says?
Yeah, that's just coach speak. I mean, it's nothing wrong with it. I always remember Jerry Sloan, as always is, every time they lost a game, we didn't play hard enough. Mm-hmm. They played harder than everybody. Yeah. But sometimes, I'd say you got to play hard. You got to bring great effort. That's a fact. But the most important thing is be efficient. Mm-hmm. On offense and defense. You can be playing harder than the other team. If you can't make any shots, you're going to lose. And you can be kind of half stepping and cruising and making all your shots, and sometimes you can win. It's more about efficiency in my mind. Than effort should be a given. Let's start there. That should be a given. Now, then it's about efficiency and offense and defense, and I would say that I think the Kings' effort has been as good as anybody's. I don't think their efficiency has been.
Mm-hmm. Joined by the legendary Jerry Reynolds. Jerry, one of the things that I think we're going to continue to talk about here within the next couple of months, if the Kings allow it to linger on, is and I know we've kind of asked you this question before, but it's kind of coming up, of course, with the Taylor Jenkins situation, is when is a good soft landing, a good spot to say, hey, Coach Christie, we really want you to come back and we want you to be on permanently, or, hey, thank you for your services. Like, how do you navigate that?
Well, I do think it makes sense to get through the season, get through player exit kind of things, and then be ready to make the decision. I would assume Monty McNair and Vivek Ranadive had some some discussions about that very thing, but they clearly shouldn't drag it out.
Mm-hmm.
He's either your guy or he isn't. But I don't see any reason you'd want to do it before the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's an interim coach. Doug knows that, and he certainly knows he's coaching for the job, and that wouldn't change. So anyway, but I think that's the fair way to do it. I mean, I certainly hope he gets the job. I think he deserves it, but even if it were me making the decision, I'd say, I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
Let's wait till the end. Let's see how it all plays out.
Mm-hmm.
Be easier to make that decision.
Yeah. Jerry Reynolds, of course, with us. There was another report today. A reporter, Brett Siegel, came on our station, talked to Alan, and he reported, he kind of just echoed something that Sam Amick had said, which is a lot of people think Domas is going to go to the front office this summer and say, hey, what's our direction? If that's true, does that, from where you sit, Jerry, and where you've sat in front offices, is that a reasonable thing for a player to be asking at this point? Aren't a lot of people asking that about the Kings right now?
Probably, and I don't think it's a real issue. I mean, I think if players want to come, they have every right to
Mm-hmm.
have some input or questions like, what's your goal now? Like, what I don't know what they expect is like, well, they go to the front office, say, now what's the plans? Well, we plan to lose a lot of games. We have no interest in winning. I don't know if that suits you, but that's our goal.
Uh-huh.
I mean, so I would assume they'd say, yeah, well, we want you to continue playing at the level you're playing at, maybe even improve in some areas, and we're going to try to make a move or two to so we can become a better team going forward. That, I mean, it's now the only thing is if it's like he or any player's made up their mind that I don't want to be here, that sort of thing, and that's a whole nother issue. But just the idea that I'd like to know the direction of the team, yeah, well, who wouldn't?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, fans would like to know.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, Whitey Gleason and Jay would like to know.
Yeah.
I know.
And Jerry Reynolds probably would like
Jerry
to.
Reynolds, I'm sure would like to know. And we're all confused.
Legend, how do you get someone like a Keegan Murray who he had 11 shots, and I had to make sure I went and checked it. 11 shots, 2 from 6 from behind the arc. It feels like every single, I don't know, not every single. That's probably not the best way to say it, but it feels like consistently we're asking for more from Keegan Murray. Do you feel that, or do you feel it's the fans? Like, what is there a hit or miss with Keegan? I guess what I'm asking is, how do you get someone like Keegan going consistently? It feels like he's not going consistently at the highest peak throughout the season.
Yeah, I agree with you. And to me, it is a conundrum because I think his effort, as an all-around player, he's improved. Defensively, you ask so much from him, but offensively, and his shooting and numbers have gotten better here recently. But I think there's a case where you've really got to get some plays for him. I mean, you want him involved. I think every good defensive player wants to kind of be involved. It's like, hey, if I'm going to do all this hard work, let me have some ice cream with this,
yes.
a little dessert for my efforts. And, and I think the only way to for sure do it is, there's no law. You can't run a couple special plays, for a guy like that, make him feel better.
Mm-hmm.
They could make perfect sense, really.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody would disagree with that, anyone who's watched the Kings. But it seems to me, Jer, that while, we'd like to get Keegan see some bigger nights more consistently, I think the way his shooting has improved since first of the year, I think he's up 35% now. Overall, I think he's having a really good year.
Oh, I do too. I mean, I think, I know as fans, sometimes we expect more, but I know around the league, he's in high regard.
Uh-huh.
I think people see him the way I'd see him anyway. He's part of the solution. He's not part of the problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that, to my mind, that's why you want to make sure that he feels that way and knows that we really appreciate what you're doing on the defensive end and the sacrifices you're making, and you made progress, and we want to make sure that we believe in you offensively too.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who got some minutes last night, and we've had a conversation about him a little bit on the show today, is Markelle Fultz. He only shot the ball one time, but got 16 minutes. He logged in 16 minutes. What's your outtake on Markelle as we come down to the last couple of weeks, the last stretch here, Legend?
I would love to see him get some extended minutes. And I know it's tough now, but the thing he can do, he can kind of get in there and make plays. Now, he's not doing a very good job of playmaking, truthfully. His assist turnover ratio isn't good, but my eyes tell me he will. Mm-hmm. And offensively, he's extremely productive. Mm-hmm. He's making 3-point shots, which at a nice rate, and then and certainly he's shown he can score the ball, and defensively he's solid. Mm-hmm. It just seems to me like I think there's something there. I'd like to be, go into next season kind of having a better knowledge of, is this a guy we can bring back and should bring back as no worse than a really good backup point guard. Mm-hmm. And right now, I don't know if you can say that, I don't, and it's tough. And I agree, with Coach Christie, and you got Carter, and you got Monk, and you got Ellis, you got some guys there, but I just have a sense he's got a little different skill set than any of them. Yeah. And it might bear a little fruit to find out more about it.
Mm. Jerry, how do you expect the Kings to fare on this 6-game trip to Orlando, Indiana? Then you got Washington, you got Charlotte, you got Cleveland, and Detroit.
Well, I expect them to fare very well against Charlotte and Washington. How's that going out on Orlando?
Wow. Yeah.
The others, it's going to be tough. And when you get, you got to win those two. Mm-hmm. And any win you can get with the rest of them. Indiana's playing extremely well. Obviously, Orlando's fighting for a spot kind of like the Kings, so you'll get them ready. And of course, with Wagner and Paulo, that's two big-time guys. It's tough to match up with. Keegan can only guard one of them. Mm-hmm. And so that's an issue. But, it's they've beaten Cleveland, which probably makes it more difficult to beat them. Yeah. I think, Donovan Mitchell, those guys haven't forgotten that already.
Who surprises you more this year, Cleveland or Detroit?
Boy, I'd say Detroit. Yeah. Certainly I didn't see the Cleveland thing coming either. They were a good team. And, if you told me they're going to win 53-4 games, I'd said, yeah, they can do that. But be a 60-plus win team, which they're going to be, but Detroit may be more than anybody. And, and the development of Cade Cunningham, because he really does look like what a number one pick was supposed to look like. He looks like a guy that can be a top 10, 15 guy in the league for a lot of years, and certainly move in that direction.
Yeah. Kings have those two teams, as you probably know, on a back-to-back. So isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. It's not going to be pleasant. And like I say, it's going to be a tough stretch. Like I say, like last night's game, and that was when you just had to win, which they did. I don't know how many times we say must wins. I think I say it about 60 times a year. But it sort of was. And I don't think they can really move up from 9, but just to make sure you can at least hold on to the 9th spot.
Mm. Yeah. Legend, my obligatory history question of the week, because I love having these conversations. We had Tom Chambers on last week. What? Yeah, I think we had Tom Chambers on last week, and what sparked up the conversation of how Tom is one of the only 20,000 point scorers not to be in the Hall of Fame, 4-time NBA All-Star. Obviously, Tom better than I am. Your take on Tom Chambers not being in the Hall of Famer, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can you expound on how good of a ball player Tom was for me, for someone who didn't get to see him as much?
Yeah, well, I thought he was in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I think that absolutely he should be. That guy was big time. I mean, kind of one of the kind of early stretch fours.
Yes.
6'10", could jump as well as anybody in the league and just punished guys. And he should be in the Hall of Fame. I always say, like, he and Kevin Johnson and Mark Price are three guys that just absolutely deserve to be in there, and they're better than those three guys are better than a lot of players that are in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tom Chambers,
he's I don't know, hardly a comparable guy. A little bit, a Dirk Nowitzki before Dirk Nowitzki, and certainly more athletic.
Yeah, because like you say, he was a legit 6'10", right, Jeremy?
6'10", yeah. He was, and I think he was like a top 3 pick or whatever, and deservedly so. I mean, and did a lot of winning.
Mm-hmm.
Played on a lot of 50-plus win teams, and I would say that the best player on top teams, it tells you something. That's kind of what I always say with the MVP this year. If I was voting, I'd vote for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because he's the best player on the best team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. If I had to pick one guy to coach for the whole year, it'd be Jokic.
All right, Coach. We appreciate it as always. Have a great weekend. Thanks for your time. And
thank you guys, and you guys have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks, Jared. We'll talk to you. Yeah, appreciate it. There you go. I forgot about that. Jay and Jerry's history lesson. I always enjoy that.
Oh, yeah, every week, baby.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get a question in. It's become a thing.
Yeah.
Who better to ask?
Exactly. We got to get a podcast going with Jerry. It's just, you
have one.
Him.
Yeah, I got you.
With his dang deal. Yeah. When we come back, Drive Guys here, we're going to look at what's going on with the Kings and the 3 things they stumbled upon last night. Did the Kings find anything last night? Maybe 3 things. See what you think. I'll let you know when we come back. Sactown Sports.
Sacramento weather is brought to you by Bonnie,
a meteorologist.